Hi, it's me, Ingridine of P. And it's been 6 months since my autism diagnosis, which kind of caught me by surprise. I was making another video and then I realized mid-video that it's been 6 months. So I guess congrats to me on my autism month day. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how my life has changed, what I've realized about myself, what accommodations do I have, am I unmasking? I don't have definite answers for any of these things because everything is in motion, in progress all the time. 6 months seems both long and short, and sometimes it seems like, it's been ages, and sometimes it seems like I've barely just found out that I'm autistic. I've been researching autism for for 1.5 years or something, so I've gotten really good at learning about it. But when it comes to myself, actually doing the work on myself, I think that getting the diagnosis was something that could let me, stop obsessing about whether or not I'm autistic and figure out how to live as an autistic person. Is a big shift. And I've gone through every single emotion. I've gone through grief, imposter syndrome, I've gone through anger at not being diagnosed before, and also anger at myself for not managing things, and sadness, grief, and I've been jealous of other people. I've been in denial, and I've been all the stages. And have I come to the stage of acceptance? I guess. I mean, at the beginning, everything in my life revolved around, I was just thinking about autism. What does this autism diagnosis mean for me all the time? Then it started to ease a little bit. But then it started blowing up again now that I'm thinking about accommodations and actually getting help for my autism. Because this is now where the next stage, the first stage is like understanding that this is it. And then the next stage is like, okay, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to live now? And yeah, so I've done some accommodations with like buying STEM toys and with, buying a heat pad pillow, and I have a weighted blanket, but that was before my diagnosis. I'm trying to be more kind to myself. It is difficult for me because I've always been a frugal person, I guess, and it's difficult for me to psychologically, due to the way I grew up, it's really difficult for me to buy things. So that is something that I'm working on the side as well. And we'll talk about later about how this isn't going to be easy for me. But yeah, so I'm trying to accommodate myself sensory-wise, and I think that's, that will come with time. And I'm already in a better situation now than when I got my diagnosis. When it comes to socializing, I don't think that I'm better at socializing or that I figured out how to do things. I think I'm a little bit more accepting of the people in the comments of my YouTube videos, because I've noticed that, okay, well, there is a risk for misunderstanding, and I might be misunderstanding things, and it's okay. However, when I know that this is something that I'm not going to be willing to try to listen to, then I just delete the comment. So I think that my comment section has been much nicer these past few months. But at the beginning, it was difficult. And then also when I went to a party yesterday, and I think that I'm much kinder to myself, of like congratulating myself that I did a good job, also not, and like deciding on a plan B in case I have a problem during the party, if I need to leave, then it's like there's a possibility of me leaving. I also make sure to know a little bit about who's going to be at the party before I go to the party, which really helps. So I think that I've gotten better at planning for that kind of thing. Of course, there will end up being spontaneous things, which aren't as easy, but I think that it's okay. It's just the problem of the masking. What is masking? And I feel like I don't relate to masking in the same way that some autistic YouTubers do. I find that especially women who are late diagnosed, it seems like they have constructed a persona, and it seems like a literal mask that they put on themselves when they go out each morning, and that's not how I felt. I don't know if I've been bad at masking, or that I was just trying to be authentic. Maybe being authentic was being my mask. I don't really know. I think that my personality kind of is somehow okay to walk around with in our society, in that yes, I got bullied for it and all that, and I definitely wasn't accepted, but I think that maybe as a small child I realized that I wouldn't be able to mask, so I just had to improvise my way through everything. And I think that my mask, or whatever it is buried as a theoretical concept rather than as a set of ways of doing things. I don't think that it's very practical mask. Like some people, will write down scripts and to prepare how a conversation will go, and prepare the interactions, or they'll do their makeup, or they'll they'll have a certain rules of being, and then they'll go out into the world and put on their mask and be a completely different person than the person that they are at home. I think that the way I present myself in my videos is pretty similar to how I present myself to my friends and how I present myself to my family. There is certain information that I give to you guys that I don't give to, my family or to my boss, or, but this persona, this person of me is interacting pretty much similar across all planes. And I don't know if that's because I'm INFP and so I want to be authentic, or because I've realized long ago that I'm not going to be able to keep up this facade. I can't keep up a facade for, longer than a few minutes. It's not like I could, I think that some autistic people are just really pretending so hard to be normal. But I wasn't really that way. I was always considered the shy, a little bit quirky girl, and maybe I have constructed kind of a set of ideas that I should follow. Maybe it is a little bit of the autistic rigid thinking, that where I don't I don't know if I'm literally thinking of a mask or if it's just an expression for something else. But so for me, I think that my masks are not really about my daily interactions with people. I think that it's baked into my values and my way of being. And so one of those ideas was not getting into trouble. Being a good girl was one of my masks, I guess. There are different sides to me, you know, and so one of them is that. Another one is being competent and being useful. You know, my inferior TE, for those of you who know about INFPs, you know, I have this fear of not being seen as competent and being, you know, a little bit of a ditzy person. At the same time, I kind of lent into being the ditzy klutz, you know, pixie dream girl, because I could see how it would endear people to me. And so I've learned to, you know, kind of sometimes dumb myself down, I guess, in order to get by in the world. I guess that is something that a lot of women kind of do, because they don't get taken seriously, so they have to do some weird reverse psychology thing. But like, so there are certain things that are idealized versions of me, and that I have been I've constructed roles around it. And so these are kind of schemas of thinking that aren't always conducive to living a good life. These are kind of just like coping strategies on top of each other. But so that's much harder to deal with than, like, you know, unmasking, whatever that means, like unmasking small behaviors. That's easy to that's easier to change, you know. But I think that those behaviors are often part of some underlying idea of how to be. And yeah, I don't think that that it lies in the small behaviors. For me, I think that it lies in just my concept of being me, of being Ingrid, you know, in this world. And I don't know how to start going about, you know, challenging that, because it's like, well, this is me. I am me. How can I be something else? I don't know, really. What is there to unmask? There is nothing underneath this skin, you know. It's me, you know. So yeah, I'm finding a hard time figuring out what is all this unmasking about. And so this unmasking, according to the book Unmasking Autism by Levan Price, I think that it's about finding your values, your own values, compared to the ones of society. And yeah, a lot of my values, my own values, are shaped by society. So like, where does me begin and where does society start? It's a false idea to think that we are individual entities without anything around. You know, you live in a society. We live in a society. And so, you know, I've been constructed through time into this person of society. So yeah, I don't think it's not just about, you know, not like, it's not about revealing the person you are. It's a whole questioning of everything you thought was important, everything you thought a person should be. It's so much. And I think that even people who are not autistic, even neurotypical people, need to think about these things. But it's like, that's a lot about life. Life is about discovering yourself in certain ways. There are many reasons for life, but that's one of my bigger reasons for being on this earth, is discovering who I am. and I don't think that we'll come to an answer. It's just about the journey of discovering. So yeah, I don't know how much I'm doing good on the unmasking front. I've realized that a lot of patients appreciate me, and that is important because that appreciation keeps me going. I think that they don't care as much about eye contact than some other doctors will think, because that's just the way that they do things. They do things by having a lot of eye contact. When there's no rule that to be a good doctor you need to have good eye contact. Or maybe there is a rule in the neurotypical handbook, but a lot of patients appreciate not being stared at throughout the whole discussion. You know, they're talking about pretty vulnerable things sometimes. So yeah, there isn't a handbook for how to be, and I think that neurotypicals, that's the problem here, is that they think that this is the way to be, when every neurotypical also has different standards about what is normal. So we can't just like keep referring back to outdated books, you know. We need to be there and create the way that we want things to be. So I want to create a world where, yeah, I don't need every doctor to have eye contact, you know. I don't need a doctor who speaks in script lines, you know. I can be my own kind of doctor. I can be my own kind of person. And so yes, in a way, the doctor persona is a persona. And then we've got other parts of my life where, you know, I am, you know, I act differently, but I am still me in all of these cases. So I don't think that I'm really, you know, struggling with masking in that sense. However, there are these ideas of like that I should be competent, that I should be a good girl, that I should be, you know, successful, that I should be a hard worker, blah, blah, blah. And this is what I'm trying to deconstruct so that I can accommodate for myself, because it's really hard for me to accommodate myself if I still apply by my old patterns of thinking. And my pattern of thinking has been that one of the rules for myself, I guess, unconsciously, was I need to work full time. And my supervisor confronted me about this, and he was like, oh, is there a reason that you need to work full time? You know, for me, I earn enough money as a doctor that I don't need to work full time in order to survive. I can live and actually, you know, have savings, even if I go down in time. So he was like, well, is there anything that's hindering you? And I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer what it was that was hindering me. You know, plenty of people work part-time, and I don't think more about it. I'm like, oh, great for you, you know. But when it comes to me, I have this idea, this rule for myself that I need to work full-time. And I guess that it is kind of a coping strategy mask kind of thing, where it's like, this is the way I've learned that I have to be in order to be liked, accepted, whatever. And I think I got this a bit from my parents, in that my mom was she didn't work when I was small because she was a stay-at-home mom, and she lived in France as an American, so she couldn't really get into the job system. And my dad worked like in France they have 35-hour work weeks. In Sweden it's 40-hour work weeks, like most places do, but in France it's 35 hours. My dad could be working 35 hours a week, but he is working like 60-hour work weeks most of the time. And I don't know why that is, but he really loves his work. I suspect that he's also autistic, that he really likes the routine of this, and he finds, that this is completely okay. At the same time, he's neglecting, us. But he's, I saw that as a kid. I saw that, okay, he was working more than full time, and my mom is more of an extrovert person, so I don't know what I got like subconsciously, this idea that if you can manage to socialize in the world, then that's great. But if you can't manage to socialize in the world, okay, this is like my child black and white thinking, but like if you can't do all the socializing stuff, which I really couldn't, then you should spend your time working. And so I think that I kind of internalized that, and then I realized, okay, I can't work full time. And plenty of doctors, at least here in Sweden, do not work full time. Most doctors don't, in fact, especially when it comes to primary care. And that's because the job description is inhuman. It's not possible to work full time as a doctor unless you have extreme capacities, and it's ridiculous because like full-time work should be, the standard. It should be, what a normal person can produce. But we are not capable. It's not a realistic expectation that people should work 40-hour work weeks. That's just a construct. So yeah, maybe we should go down. Maybe the real amount of time that people should be working is 20-hour work weeks. There are these propositions of how work weeks should look like. Anyway, I realized like, oh, even neurotypicals can't do it. And not just neurotypical people with children. I'm talking about, people who don't have huge responsibilities at home. They're not coping and managing to work fully, 100%. And they're going down on time. So why am I forcing myself to work full time? So now I'm going to be going down on time. My supervisor has decided that we're going to talk to my boss about it, but it's such a resistance within me to keep working full time. And it reminds me a little bit about when I got into burnout and I couldn't get myself to take a day off. I just couldn't. And so I got burnt out. And even when I got burnt out, my old supervisor had to kind of chase me out of my workplace in order for me to not stay at work, because I just sat at my desk and I couldn't move myself. I couldn't get myself to stop working. And so I don't want to get burnt out again. And so it's essential for me to actually go down in time. But it's so difficult to accommodate myself because I have this fixed idea of this is how I should be, this is what I should do. And so for me, working I was okay with working part-time if I had some other commitment, or if I, but why am I putting these extra rules on myself, these convoluted ideas? Okay, I cannot manage to work 100%. I need to go down in time. And so that is something that I need to accept and get the accommodations. But it's not easy because I've been used to just managing, keeping up the appearance, and that is kind of masking. It's another kind of masking. I think another thing is accommodating myself at home. I've been, my whole home life is a coping strategy of how to do this chores and such. Um, I am going to be getting help with the diagnosis course, and then we're going to be, you know, yeah, it's kind of sad that the diagnosis, the class comes 6 months after, or 7 months after the diagnosis. That's quite a long time. Another thing is I'm going to be getting help from a social worker. We'll see how that goes, because that is also very difficult for me, because I feel embarrassed about the whole thing. And I, you know, I don't really want to get outside help. And it's, you know, but maybe it's something that I need. I don't know. But there are lots of ideas about myself, about what I should be doing, and expectations that I'm placing on myself because other people have placed on me before. But there's some of these that never were an expectation to begin with. It's just an expectation that I've created, internalized subconsciously, because of how I saw other people behave and how I saw, you know, what would get me to be most accepted in society. So I'm working on all of that. It's quite a lot. You know, most people don't walk around with those kinds of thoughts in their head. But at the same time, you know, I am a person who thinks deeply about things, and, you know, as an INFP and all that. And it's important to go through the whole process. And that process can take a long time. It can take more than 6 months. It can take, you know, years. My supervisor is autistic, and he was diagnosed more than 10 years ago because he got burnt out 10 years ago, something like that. I think that he got diagnosed with Asperger's, so that must have been before 2013, or something like that. So yeah, it's and, you know, he hasn't gotten it all right, but he's gotten things a little bit more under control. But it's been 10 years, you know, so he's you know, managing a lot better, I'm guessing, than he was at the time. And I'm grateful to have him as a supervisor, so that I can, you know, I have somebody to look up to about, like, you know, here is an autistic person living a life that is balanced, you know, and he has made it, you know, he's gotten through this world, and not being burnt out since that time in 2013 or whatever that was. He's implemented strategies to accommodate himself, and I would like to do that, you know. In a way, I kind of see my new supervisor as a little bit like my dad if he had, because I suspect that my dad is autistic, and also I think that they're both ISTJs. I think that, like, my supervisor is a little bit like, what if my dad got the support that he needed, instead of having all these coping strategies by, like, you know, drowning himself in work, or you know, actually expressing his emotions, that kind of thing. I think that had my dad, you know, gone a different path and, you know, gotten himself an autism diagnosis and actually worked on, you know, on developing himself, and, you know, expressing his emotions and all that, and, you know, accommodating for his autism, I think that he would be a much happier person now. I think that that's the path that I want to go on. I want to, you know, be myself as an autistic person. I want to, you know, explore life and what it has to offer as an autistic person. And that means accommodating to my needs and, you know, celebrating my autism and being so kind to myself That's what I really need to work on, you know. It's not enough to just, you know, say, you know, oh, you did a good job. It's like being extremely sweetly, terribly kind to myself. You know, I need to be to that level in order to, you know, actually make it. And being kind to myself doesn't mean like, you know, letting myself off the hook all the time. I'm not saying that, you know, if I do something wrong, then, you know, I should own up to it. But it is, you know, it's a little bit like being a late diagnosed autistic person, like a lot of people I've talked about, is a, you know, an experience of trauma. And it's not a visible trauma. It's not something that, you know, is easy to explain. But living in this world as an autistic person without knowing that you're autistic is a form of trauma, at least in my opinion and in the opinion of some other people. It is a form of trauma, and my coping strategies and everything are to some degree a trauma response. And you know, why are we treating this as something other? You know, why are we treating ourselves in such harsh ways? You know, if you knew like, oh, you're a traumatized person, then you would treat yourself kinder. At least for me, I guess that when I frame things that way, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I really should be nice to myself, you know? It's all this reparenting yourself kind of stuff that's going around online lately. You know, being traumatized does not have to be, you know, experiencing traumatic events in this way, but it can be just small things that hit you. It's just like, you know, if you walk outside your door and you get, I used this example before, but I don't know if anybody else has used it, but it's like, for everybody else, it's, you know, a sunny day or maybe a rainy day, and for you it's like it's hailing, and it's like you're walking around trying to not, you know, get hail on your head, and you're bowing down like this, and everybody's wondering like, why are you not managing to walk straight? But that's because for you it's hailing, and for them it's a sunny day. And it's like, of course, if you're going to get like little micro traumas hitting you all the time, okay, you haven't been crushed by a stone, you haven't, you know, been, you know, it's not like a meteor has fallen on your head, but you've got like these little hail that are constantly passing at you, and that is going to affect you, and you can't just keep going about your life as if, you know. And because I've always been in a world where it's been hailing all the time, like I don't even know how it is to be in a world that is sunny. So that's why I didn't get the diagnosis, because I was just like, why am I struggling and everybody else is not? Or of course everybody has struggles, but I mean, why am I struggling more than other people seem to be doing? And yeah, it's because I've got some trauma, you know, and yeah, because I've been friends with people who have literal, you know, big T traumas, you know, really traumatizing situations, I haven't recognized that I've had trauma in myself. And I think that is an important thing to realize as an autistic person. and there are different ideas around that, but I think that it is important to acknowledge that trauma is a part of being late diagnosed autistic. I think that it's important to not to victimize yourself and to say that you're that you're incapable or that kind of thing. What I mean is that you need to take care of yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you, and you need to be so kind to yourself in order to to live. It's so important. And I've been feeling silly about being so indulgent with myself, but it's vital to do so. If I don't do it, then I'm going to, I can't keep going on this road that I've been going on, because that road leads to burnout, and it leads to depression, and it leads to me possibly not being alive tomorrow, so I need to be extremely kind to myself and be my parent, be the person, be the best friend for myself, be the parent for myself, be the sister for myself, because there isn't, so I have the support network and all that, but I need to help myself. And yes, of course, there's about building a support network and all that, but that takes time. And I can't just get myself a support network. But it's very important to have a support network that you can lean on. But I know that it's not easy if you have very few people in your life, like most autistic people do. So I would say that yes, lean on on the people around you in your life, but you're leaning on them in order for you to, in order for you to help yourself. In the end, that's where you need to be the center of your universe, and take care of yourself. It's really, really important. And I think that in our fight to survive, we've had to let that go to the side, and that's unfortunate, but it was crucial that we do so. But now that we've come to a certain point, now we need to let go of that tough handle we've had on ourselves. That's at least how I feel about my situation. So I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to go outside on a walk. I'm going to go and get some groceries and have my my loops in while I do so. I'm going to, if I feel that it's too cold outside, I'm going to go back inside. I'm going to, but at least I'm trying to experience what this life has to offer, and I'm doing these small things to make my body feel better, with some movement, making sure that I have a good breakfast, these sorts of simple pleasures, these simple things that make our life better. And it's okay if I can't manage them, if I can't manage them, okay, well, so be it. We've tried, and we'll try again tomorrow, So yes, this video was all over the place, but I think that it's important to see that nothing is really clear, There will always be a lot of questions. There will always be a lot of, there will always be difficulties, and life is going to be difficult, but we, you know, the autism diagnosis does help, and it does, you know, lead to change, and it is a positive element to my life so that I can grow. So that's all I had to say. I'm going to make another video about the party that I went at, and tell me what you guys think. I felt that was important to make a long video due to it being the 6 months. I'll probably do a similar video once it's gone a year. It's ridiculous that it's been 6 months. I don't know if it's long or short or whatever. But yeah, so tell me what you guys think. Have a great day. Bye.